This is me. Now I'm gonna send something. I'm gonna go all the way to London. It's gonna go to Björk. I don't have to do this. Okay, there's not a little voice in my head. There's not something I'm not trapped up against, the corner and have no other way but doing this. Okay? I do not have to do this. I don't need to talk to nobody because I got Mr. Hitachi, Mr. High 8 video system. This right here is my friend. Right here. This is my friend. Okay, I gotta treat it like a friend because this is it. My battery's.
In September 1996, a package was traveling through the mail system towards the home of one of the most famous musicians in the world. Inside the package was a homemade acid bomb. The person who sent it wasn't a terrorist. He wasn't a criminal mastermind. He wasn't even someone the singer had met. He was a 21-year-old exterminator living alone in a small apartment in Florida. And before mailing that package, he spent 9 months recording nearly every step of his descent on camera. His thoughts, his frustrations, his obsession, his plans. 4 days later, police entered his apartment and made a discovery that would shock investigators. More than 20 hours of videotape, a 103-page diary, and a complete record of how an ordinary fan became one of the most famous celebrity stalkers in history. His name was Ricardo Lopez, and this is one of the most disturbing video diaries ever discovered. Chapter 1: The Last Person You'd Expect. When people hear the words celebrity stalker, they usually imagine someone dangerous from the very beginning. Ricardo wasn't, at least not at first. He was born in Montevideo, Uruguay, before moving to the US with his family. Friends and relatives described him as quiet, introverted, easygoing, type of person who mostly kept to himself. As a teenager, Ricardo dreamed of becoming an artist, but there was one problem: he didn't believe in himself. He eventually dropped out of high school and never pursued art seriously. Instead, he worked odd jobs, including pest control work for his brother's extermination business. By the time he reached adulthood, Ricardo felt stuck. He had never had a girlfriend, he struggled socially, he felt unattractive. And according to journals later discovered by investigators, he constantly viewed himself as a failure. One entry after another painted the same picture: a young man who desperately wanted to matter, someone who wanted to be seen, someone who wanted his life to mean something. Unfortunately, he eventually found something that would consume him completely. Chapter 2: Björk. In 1993, Ricardo discovered the music of Björk. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Millions of people loved her music. Ricardo was simply another fan. He followed her career, collected information about her, watched interviews.
I'm talking with Björk. Thank you very much. This
Thank you.
This is a new band you've just put together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is most everyone there from Iceland?
No, they're actually quite a collection. There's people from India, Barbados, Iran, Turkey,
Wow.
Wales.
Now, where are you from originally? You're from...
I'm from Iceland.
Read articles, sent fan letters. But over time, something changed. The admiration grew into fixation. Then fixation became obsession. And according to his writings, Björk became the center of his world. The strange part is that Ricardo's obsession wasn't primarily romantic. It wasn't even sexual. Instead, he became obsessed with the idea of being important to her. In his journal, he wrote about wanting to have an effect on her life, to matter to her somehow, to be remembered. And as the years passed, reality began slipping further away. At one point, he even fantasized about inventing a time machine so he could travel into the past and meet Björk as a child. The obsession was becoming all-consuming, and nobody around him realized how dangerous it would eventually become. Chapter 3: The Numbers Don't Lie. Years later, investigators would discover just how deeply the obsession had taken over his life. Ricardo's diary stretched over 800 pages, and the numbers hidden inside those pages were disturbing. More than 400 references to Björk, more than 160 references to failure, dozens of references to ending his own life, multiple references to murder. the diary becomes less of a journal and more of a map of his mind. Page after page documented feelings of inadequacy. He wrote about being overweight, about struggling with self esteem, about feeling embarrassed by his appearance, and his inability to form relationships. He described himself as a loser, a failure, a man going nowhere, and while his own life seemed frozen in place, Björk's career continued to grow, which only made the obsession stronger. Because the more successful she became, the more disconnected Ricardo felt from the life he wanted. Then one piece of celebrity news changed everything. Chapter 4: The Breaking Point. In 1996, Ricardo learned that Björk was dating British musician Goldie. To most people, it was a meaningless celebrity gossip. For Ricardo, though, it felt personal. He later wrote, "I waited 8 months and she has a lover." The sentence revealed something important. Ricardo no longer viewed Björk as a distant celebrity. In his mind, he had become emotionally invested in her life, and now reality was colliding with fantasy. Instead of accepting it, he became increasingly angry. The obsession that had once made him euphoric was turning into resentment, and over the following months, those emotions would push him towards a dangerous decision. On January 14, 1996, his 21st birthday, Ricardo stopped writing in his diary and started recording himself on video. This would become one of the strangest parts of the entire case.
I'm dirty, sloppy, fat, disgusting. Okay, I'm a piece of shit. I am a product of this world. I'm everything vile of this world. Selfish, hypocritical, you name it. These are all things that I am. I am documenting who I am. And that's what I am. I want to do.
For the next 9 months, he documented his own camera, hour after hour, tape after tape, eventually creating roughly 22 hours of footage. He referred to the camera as his psychologist, his therapist, somebody who'd listened when nobody else would. Watching those recordings today feel unsettling, not because something shocking happens immediately, but because viewers can watch the obsession evolve in real time.
Yes, she will pay. She's gonna fucking die, that's for sure. Kill her, scare her, drug cancer. And more than anything, know of my fucking existence. I might as well begin.
The camera captures loneliness, frustration, anger, and increasingly disturbing thoughts. Unlike most criminal cases, investigators don't have to guess what Ricardo was thinking. He told the camera himself, every step of the way.
My name is Ricardo Lopez.
As the months passed, the recordings became darker. Friends had warned him that his fascination with Björk was unhealthy. His own brother reported him told him to get a real woman, but Ricardo ignored the warnings. Instead, he kept recording, and eventually, he began documenting something even more disturbing. Chapter 5: The Package. Living alone in a small Hollywood apartment, Ricardo began working on what he called his revenge. His goal was simple. He wanted to affect Björk's life forever, and he believed he had found the way. He planned to send her a package to her home in London. To hide his intention, he disguised the package as a gift. Inside was a hollowed-out book. Attached was a forged letter designed to make the package appear legitimate.
Told me, or demons have spoken to me. I said, I have to know. I want to know. I am in complete control of the situation. No one else. Me. The only reason you're alive is because I have allowed you to live. And the only reason I'm...
He spent months preparing it, thinking about it, talking about it, filming parts of the process. The most disturbing part wasn't the package itself. It was how calmly he discussed it, as he was working on an ordinary project. The camera continued rolling while the obsession continued growing, and with every passing week, Ricardo became more committed to carrying out his plans. Nobody around him realized how close he was getting. Chapter 6: The Race Against Time. September 12th, 1996. After months of planning, Ricardo finally brought the package to the post office. The package was now on its way to London, and according to investigators, he knew there was no turning back. After returning home, he recorded one final video diary. Then the apartment went silent. And of course, I can't show the whole thing on YouTube, but I'll show you guys a bit of it. If you guys want to check out the whole thing for your own, you guys definitely can. I don't recommend, but here you go, guys. Hours passed, then days. Nobody heard from him. Nobody checked on him. 4 days later, the building manager noticed a follow-up order coming from the apartment. Something was clearly wrong. Police were called. When officers entered the apartment, they discovered Ricardo dead. But that wasn't the only thing they found. Written on the wall was a message directing investigators towards a collection of videotapes. The message warned that the tapes documented a crime. Investigators began reviewing them, and what they discovered immediately changed the entire situation, because the danger wasn't over. The package was still moving through the mail system, and it was getting closer to its destination. The moment investigators understood what had happened, the case became a race against time. Authorities in Florida urgently contacted police in the United Kingdom. Somewhere in the postal system, the package was still traveling towards Björk's address. If it had arrived first, the consequences could be devastating. Police worked quickly. The package was tracked down before reaching its destination. It was intercepted, safely dealt with, and Björk was never harmed. And an unbelievable twist, investigators later learned something Ricardo never knew. Björk and Cody had already broken up days earlier. The relationship that fueled so much of his anger was already over. He simply didn't know it. Everything he had spent months obsessing over had already changed, but by then it was too late. Years later, the Ricardo Lopez case remains disturbing for one reason above all others: the recordings. Most criminal investigations require detectives to piece together what had happened after the fact. This case was different. Ricardo documented himself, recording everything: his loneliness, his frustration, his obsession, his plans. More than 20 hours of footage showing a person gradually losing touch with reality. A camera sitting inside a small apartment, recording month after month, creating one of the most unsettling video diaries ever discovered. They were watching a real person explain his own downfall, and that's what makes the story impossible to forget. And thank you for watching, guys. Let me know if you guys like the new editing style. If not, let me know as well. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you guys later. Ciao.